How about the irony that I went to the colorful city of Las Vegas during one of the biggest conferences in the world and shot only black and white? Or did I? Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris Hagen, a video producer and photographer in Portland, Oregon. And yeah, CES in Las Vegas, black and white. Am I crazy? Well, probably a little, but I wanted to try something different with my A7 IV, something I've never really done, but probably will from now on. See, it started with an interest in the Nikon Zf, and with almost every video I watch about that camera, one of the most praised features is its monochrome mode, not only for how good the images look, but because it's mapped to a switch on the camera exterior that makes it easy to go from shooting in color to black and white. And that got me thinking, well, can't my A7 IV do the same thing? The answer is yes. The Sony A7 IV has the same ability to create dynamic black and white images straight out of camera, just like the Nikon Zf. And you can make it happen with the twist of one dial on the camera exterior. I've been using this black and white mode to kind of force myself into taking more of these types of photos because I think when done well, they're amazing, and because it's new for me and kind of keeps me interested. Now, I'm still learning what I like and how to capture these types of images, so don't judge my shots too hard, but it's been a lot of fun, especially on this trip to Las Vegas and around Portland a little bit. So first of all, in case you didn't know, there are creative looks in your Sony camera. They definitely aren't marketed well, and I haven't fully experimented with all of the looks and customization to the color profiles enough to compare them to Fujifilm or anything like that, but they are there in the color and tone section of the menu. And naturally, there's a black and white profile. Not only can you turn this on to capture black and white JPEGs, but you can customize them as well. Now, it's not as intuitive or easy to see the changes as how Fujifilm implements their film simulations, but it's enough to get a JPEG that I think you'll be happy with. You've got contrast, highlights, shadows, fade, sharpness range, and clarity, and if you're shooting in color, some saturation options as well. I can't give you a hard factual definition of exactly how drastically these different options will change your image, but I think it's self-explanatory enough for you to kind of figure it out as you go. My personal recipe is +5 contrast, +6 highlights, +3 shadows, 0 fade, sharpness set to 4, sharpness range set to 3, and clarity set to 1. Obviously, with dynamic scenes, it can be tough to retain the details in the shadows and highlights depending on what you're going for, but this recipe I did find worked best for me while shooting some pretty dynamic outdoor scenes in Las Vegas with a bright sky and shadows below. But it also worked well for me indoors in some flatter scenes with people, so I think it's a pretty good all-arounder so far. My main adjustments were usually to shutter speed if I wanted some intentional motion blur, and ISO to make sure my exposure was right. But if you are someone who already uses these creative looks in your Sony camera, do let me know what you like in terms of settings. Color recipes too. I think I'll start using those more in the future because if you don't want to edit, it feels really good to get JPEG looks via these recipes out of a full frame camera, especially one where you can easily store these settings in the memory recall modes. And that right there is the best way to set things up for your black and white profile in this camera. In my case, I have the black and white mode set to memory recall mode number 2 in my photo mode. So I can quickly go from my standard color profile to black and white by just moving this top dial to number 2, similar to how you'd turn on the monochrome mode on the Nikon Zf. Now, if you set up a custom profile before, feel free to skip ahead a little bit, but I do want to quickly take you through how I set up my black and white profile. And maybe you'll learn something along the way or be able to tell me something I can do better in the comments below. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you're in photo mode and then select either manual, aperture priority, shutter priority, whatever you prefer. I like shooting in manual mode, so that's where I'm going to start. Then you'll select everything, and I mean just about everything that you'll want to be set when you go to your custom profile. So let's start with the black and white creative look. We'll go into the menu, then go down to exposure and color, the pink menu, then down to color and tone, then creative look. Navigate down that menu to black and white, labeled BW. This is where you can put in your recipe with contrast, highlights, shadows, etc. Now we'll close that menu and continue dialing in our preferred settings. And don't skip this because it will make your life so much easier. If you prefer to shoot wide open or pretty close to it, go ahead right now and set your aperture as bright as possible. Or if you prefer more to be in focus, say in a street photography setting, close your aperture a bit more instead. What you're doing is setting exactly what you want as soon as you go into this profile. Set your preferred white balance, shutter speed, the ISO you usually find yourself in, burst speed, image quality, silent mode, literally everything you want available right away. Then save it. Go to your menu, make your way to shooting, then down to shooting mode, then camera set memory. Here you'll select 1, 2, or 3. You'll see the message registered and you're done. So now you move your mode dial to photo mode and the number you just selected, and it's ready to go with your black and white profile. And again, what's important to note is if you want to edit the images in color later, make sure you're shooting in JPEG and RAW. Head to the shooting menu, then image quality settings, and make sure it looks like this. My RAW file type is lossless compressed large, which gives me the full 33 megapixel resolution with the best image quality in a lightly compressed format. From what I can see, it's the same as shooting uncompressed, but saves on a little bit of SD card space. I also have my JPEG quality set to fine, again using all 33 megapixels. Shooting RAW images in addition to the JPEGs means when you take those RAW photos into Lightroom, you've got the standard image without your black and white settings applied, ready to be edited in color or further refined in black and white if you want to do that too. It's really that simple. It takes just minutes to set all this up and get going. And also understand, marketing and influencing are powerful tools. So much so that as easy as it is to find a Nikon Zf video touting the black and white feature, I can't say that I've really seen many people talk about using their A7 IV in a similar fashion. It's certainly not a feature that Sony hangs its hat on, so it's not too surprising that it's not really talked about. But in a photography world currently just obsessed with the idea of getting great photos straight out of camera, a la Fujifilm, you should know that your boring Sony can produce better JPEGs straight out of camera than you may think. And that goes for any camera. People love to say certain cameras must be used for this or that, or other cameras absolutely cannot be used for this or that, but that's just not true. The best part about the current camera climate is they're all crammed full of features. Some are easier to use and more suited for certain things than others, but more times than not, your camera can do a lot more than you think as long as you're willing to try and put in maybe just a little bit of work and extra thought. Go ahead and hit the like button if you feel like you learned something new in this video. Maybe hit it if you didn't learn something new also. Feel free to ask any questions about the setup process if you have any, and let me know what you think about all this.